1. I think we are live. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, it does. It says it. I see the badge with numbers.
We are back. It's only been about 5 months.
It's been a while
since we've done this. It's been a long time.
Really?
Long time. Yeah. We used to do these on the regular. Rob and I would do them a lot. Jared would come in and kind of mediate a little bit.
Try to get a word in.
With Rob. It's hard to do. And they were pretty good.
I feel like Jared's done this before. He's got like a green uplight in the background.
Yeah. I don't have like the most sophisticated setup, but I have some stuff.
I got to figure out. I know there's a way to blur the background somehow, some way, but
yeah.
I was in the garage. Yeah, you got that's cool.
Implements and Tony playing video games.
I see him back there.
I can see him in the back.
I don't know what he's doing.
Zoned in, whatever he's doing.
Funny if he just held up a hand and boing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking in the garage earlier, like trying to figure out what I want to do, like full studio setup at some point. I don't know what.
I'll come take a look at it with you. We can come
there you go. Yeah. We got to put up some sound editing panels and lights. Get like some laser light show stuff going on.
I like that. You used to have a Rich Drew logo that you had up behind the live streams, but
it's really
I remember
cool.
It tipped over one time.
It did, dude, and it kind of the end got jacked up a little bit. It's okay. It wasn't too bad. So let's jump in and talk about Jared's journey with Drop the Hammer, dude.
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so let's provide some context. Of course, like many people, you put it up on a pedestal a little bit.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
So talk a little bit about that. Like give some context, because I know where you came from in Louisiana, it was a big deal, kind of a benchmark.
Yeah. In fact, in Louisiana, they built a drop called the Tower of Terror that was meant to basically beat that drop. Like it was so talked about that Louisiana wanted to make their own version of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that one's actually a little bit bigger. It might be 13.
Where is this?
At Boca Chico, the state park in Louisiana.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, I really built it up in my head. I mean, everybody does, I think. I mean, it looks gnarly. Not only the size and magnitude of it, but they went and made it with a steel grate that you can see through. It's just like all those little things make it look way more hardcore than it needs to. And all of that played in my head, mostly just like the self-preservation thing. My mind just kept wanting to cycle through all the things that could go wrong. And it was really tough at times to manage that. So that was like the biggest piece, I think, building up to it.
Big mental piece. Yeah. And that's where my big concern was. And thankfully we had an ace in the hole with Jess and her ability to manage that. So I wasn't concerned about the technique side of it. But so we did the technique work there out at the rail yard. When we were doing that, you had an understanding of what we were going to talk about, but what was it that you think resonated the most with you?
In terms of technique?
Yes.
So like I had watched your drop videos in the past, the ones that were very controversial. And there, I had like some concerns with the technique myself, but I knew that we were going to be employing that, or at least, trying to implement it into the way that I drop. And then, start putting the reps in, and it actually started to make a lot of sense. It was the moment that you said that getting low allows you to manage the bike as it starts to do its thing off of the drop, that it was like, wow, that makes a ton of sense, because if you're too high, then the bike kind of has the opportunity to manage you instead. And that was like the biggest takeaway. It was just like the light went bing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So in regards to his work at the rail yard, Jess, what was going through your mind when we were doing that?
Working at the rail yard?
Yeah.
I think I could tell that, like, I think because I went through this similar journey of trying to prepare and getting the technique down is one thing and knowing you're capable, but then really just being able to get yourself in the right mind space. And it's kind of like the mental like Jedi mind training of just like, I know I can handle this. And like you were saying,
Right.
Jared, it's like it's very easy to go down this hole of what are all the worst case scenarios, like
Yeah.
all the things that could possibly go wrong,
Yeah.
and really trying to
Absolutely.
flip that narrative to, well, what if everything went right, and what would that look
Yeah.
like, and then using that sort of visualization as a technique to be like, okay, no, this is what it's going to look like when I rock this drop, you know?
Yeah,
So,
and I think
you
that
did
was a
great
major
job of doing
piece
that.
was like visualizing success, and like I kept holding on to how I imagined I would feel after I conquered it, like
Mhm.
as that being like the key motivation to get through.
Yeah.
So cool. It's so from that perspective, it was really fascinating for me because that was one of the first times where somebody has ever just straight up said, "Hey, bro, your bullying tactics don't resonate with me. Like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You got to go the other way."
Yeah,
And
he said in a
like I
text
Oh.
said,
message, he's like, "Sack up."
yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, that's not gonna work for me. Like,
Well,
don't tell
and
me stuff like that."
Yeah.
you notice I said it's the first time somebody straight up said that. I don't think it's the first time that scenario has played out. People just
Yeah.
didn't say, "Yeah, bro, that's not going to work for me."
Yeah, well, I
Um,
mean, we've
That's
been
good.
working together for a while now, so I feel like I could just come out and say it,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I
That's important.
I appreciated it, and I think I said this to you, Jared. I said it's an interesting space for me to try to appreciate because I'm not really there ever. It's either, yeah, I'll do it because I know I have it, or no, I'm just not going to do it. Like
Right.
I rarely ever have to toil in that in between space just because
Yeah, you're
I
very
know
definitive. You know your limits.
exactly.
It's like I'm not I can't do
Yep.
this or I can do this straight up.
Or there's no reason for me. Like, and I think that's an important
Mm.
element to bring out. It's not that I
Totally.
can't do it. I don't need to. It doesn't make sense. There's no upside
Hmm.
to the potential downside of doing
Well,
something like
the
that.
only one I was referencing there was that one ridiculous gnarly sin on Thunderdome where it was just like you really I don't know if it's possible. That one we tried.
I think it's possible, and I think Mason can do it. I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
again,
which one are we talking about? Yeah.
It's a triple that like the approach is
Oh.
wacky.
No. Yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. So let's talk like night before.
Dude.
Yeah.
Did you
Did you
get any
sleep?
Jared?
I got sleep, but I kept waking up to a wet pillow. My palms were
Oh,
sweating
you were
in my sleep.
night sweats.
My
Oh,
palms were
no.
sweating in my sleep. It was ridiculous. Like
Oh.
the amount that I built it up in my head. I tried to
Yeah.
convey that really well on the video I did for my channel of this journey.
Oh no,
Kinda,
it came across.
yeah.
And I think it came
Yeah.
across in the video on my channel.
Oh
Like
yeah, totally.
you
Just
tried to
different
play it
ways.
cool a little bit, but it came out.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I was bottling it up. I think we all do that to some extent, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and something I found really interesting, I think, I don't know, I have this too, right? Where, like for you, Jared, like you needed to have music, like the first however
Yeah.
many times that you were
Yeah.
executing the drop. And Rich, we went and hit it like, I don't know, it was like a week or so later.
Yeah.
And, you know, Jared wanted to get to the point where he could just drop in like without anyone towing him in. So we like went back, and then there were moments where he was like, okay, cool. Like I've got the speed dialed. So then he starts hitting it by himself. And then like right before we left, he's like, this one without music. And it was just
Yep.
like this epic
Just-
moment of like taking away. And like I have those too. Like I hit it on a new bike that I like didn't feel like I had my
Yeah, the
suspension
lift.
really I didn't have it fully dialed because it's the Fox Live valve, and I was like
Yeah.
kind of sketched out by it. So we had it kind of dialed over at Thunderdome, and so I had that was my thing that was holding me back when we
Mhm.
went back up there, because I was like, I've never hit it on this bike, you know, like it was like
You ended
one
up
mental
loving it, if I
barrier,
remember
man.
correctly.
Yes, and then I was like, I actually really like it on this bike, so
Yeah.
so
Funny.
it was cool. Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. What is your hype music, Sarah?
Yeah.
Is it
So
Wind Beneath My Wings? She's asking.
I get into a lot of like metalcore, so it's pretty
No,
heavy.
I know what he likes. What the hell is it? MGM?
Machine Gun
MGK?
No, that's
Machine Gun Kelly.
That's Mason, not
that's
me.
Mason.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, that's not
Mason's
me. No, it's kind of
extended.
heavy, but the reason why I would use that is because you can almost like force an adrenaline rush, get into that like fight mode rather than flight mode. So I dial it up and just
Trying to fight drop the hammer.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Fight or
Getting
flight.
amped,
Like, am I
Yeah.
going to
you know?
run or I'm going to do this?
Yeah.
You know?
So, subsequently now you've hit it multiple times.
Hmm.
Um,
Probably
do you
like
feel
50 now.
Okay, I like that. So we got a good data set.
Yes.
Have you made adjustments?
No,
Or-
I've kind of just figured out what works and I stick with
Okay.
it. I'm very mathematical. Like 3 pedals down the rocks. I haven't
pedals.
tried to hit. I don't hit it
Off
any
the
different.
rocks yet?
It's the
Yeah.
same way every time.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, sometimes the repetitions feel a little different, if that makes sense. You know, sometimes it'll end up going a little bit deeper. I guess it just depends on the wind. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I haven't really made any adjustments since then.
Yeah. It's always interesting, I think, to ask those questions because you can certainly make adjustments. Like you could come in and you could preload a little bit and kind of turn down a little bit and kind of help you relax a little bit more. But
yeah, I want to get there, but I'm still not quite at that comfort level where I can start playing with the bike in the air and stuff. Like there are drops where I do that, but hammer's not one.
have you gone all the way around and hit all 3 of them?
I have not. The last time I rode it, I just started getting comfortable with the step up. The step up those are kind of like the next hurdle for me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm starting to get up those, but
Yeah.
I'm casing them.
Yeah.
So
then
piece by piece.
it's okay. Yeah. That takes a little bit of time. What would you say to somebody who's watching this? I mean, there's like, I think 18 means 18 million people or 18,000. It's a little
Yeah.
18 million.
Yeah. It's a factor of 1,000 for sure.
What would you say to people who are thinking, I want to do it? What's your advice?
Pretty much to go through the exact process we did, you know, get a ton of reps.
The Ride
in.
Series training process. Is that what you're saying, Jared? Everybody.
Yes. 100% endorsement here, folks. RideSeries.com.
Yeah. If you go to the website, just click on the Ride Series Drop the Hammer Journey package.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So like that was definitely it though. Like just getting the reps in on drops that you're comfortable with, making sure that you have the technique dialed, and also having somebody that you can follow in. That way, you know, speed isn't something you have to necessarily consider. You just follow the person and hold their wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the biggest pieces. Go for it.
I have a question, Jared. So I actually didn't know I was going to be the one towing you in till like that day. Like, I think I just like assumed like Rich or Mason was going to do it.
I had no clue
like,
either. I just knew I was going to do it.
I think at one point, like I just look over at Rich and I was like, okay, like who's towing him in? And then Rich is like, you are. I was like, okay, cool.
I just felt like it made the most sense. You guys seemed very connected on that metaphysical level, and it just it needed to manifest that way. And that's one of those things where I think that my verbal strategy would have carried over into my towing him in strategy. So I think it made way more sense for you to do it. That
makes
that was
sense.
my thought on it, and it obviously worked.
I remember moments before, just like I just looked at you, Jared, and I was just like, "Whenever you're ready, man, you tell me," because you know you're getting your headphones in. And,
I didn't want to wait on it. That's another bit of advice. Like going back to that question, I do not recommend like going to size it up and stare at it and meander around it for an hour. Don't do that. Like you're just going to get in your head. If you've got the skills and all that, like just kind of get it done.
Yeah, dude, you saddled up once you figured out how to get that helmet buckled, and away you went.
Yeah, I did not want to go look at it. I knew that would start that vicious cycle of thoughts.
So, Jess, what would you tell people?
I think, it's also one of those things too, where it's like, just because you go and you work up to something like drop the hammer, like doesn't mean fear just like disappears. It might go away a little, it might sort of subside a little bit, but it takes a lot of work to kind of continue to work it back. Right.
Yeah.
There was a point in time where like I hit it and then they were working on it for a while. So then I couldn't go back and hit it again. And then that time that I went to go hit it after that, period of time had gone by, I was like, what if I forget everything I know how to do? And then, it's like, once again, it kind of bubbles up. Yeah. Like, so, it's just one of those things where as you progress as a rider, these things kind of still bubble up, but it's just more data points to remind ourselves, like, I've done this before. I've done something similar like this before. And you just kind of continue to Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep those. And then I think eventually you get to the point where you're like, okay, this is something I have done so many times. The fear is pretty much not there with that specific thing anymore. And now it's focused on something else.
Something
yeah.
bigger.
Yeah. It never ends. Like I went this morning, I got out, nice little therapy ride as the sun was coming up, and I wasn't sure where I was going to go. And I took it as an opportunity to go out to the castle and hit that and work on medieval.
Nice.
And hitting some of those jumps and really getting the bike to do specific things that I've been trying to do. And I thought about it the whole way there and riding up, and I hit it the first time through, and it was just amazing. And I came back up all fired up and dropped in the second time, and it sucked. And so then I'm riding back up after that time, just going, what the hell? But then I just smiled because that's how it goes. It's just, I don't think that ever ends. It's just, you do it on different things and it's a different level. And so I just think that's all part of it. And it's what makes it so fun is trying to think your way. At least for me, it's trying to think my way through those things and analyze like what didn't work, why didn't it work, how can I come in and make it different. And sometimes like this morning I come in and I did what I thought I needed to do to make it work and it wasn't working. So then I said, okay, I'm going to try the opposite, and it worked. And it's just funny that happens at times, and sometimes you can't rationalize it, but it's just, that's what it is. And that's how you deal with it. So Jared, we've talked about the next journey and that's going to be jumping.
Yep.
So how would you categorize where you're at right now with jumping?
I would say it's almost a parallel to the whole drop scenario. You know, there are drops that, like, when it came to the drops, there were drops that I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. No problem. You know, like the 2-4, even the 6, I was like, yeah, I can handle that. And it's the same thing with jumps. There's a fine line where it's like, okay, I'm no longer really comfortable with it. And in fact, I'm a bit petrified. It's the same thing.
Yeah. What is it that gets you right now? What's the kind of the point, the tipping point for you with jumps?
So like there's a line where the lips no longer look like lips and they look like walls. And medieval is one of those trails. Air raid is one of those trails.
Yeah.
They're just big. You know what I mean? And that just gets me nervous. And it's almost like in those moments, my emotions definitely get the best of me. I start thinking about all the things I can go wrong again, and I start getting back and ripping the brake and doing dumb stuff.
Yeah. You excited about this, Jess?
I am, because I think Jared and I are in a similar boat. And you know, it's almost safer to remind myself of the technique than like come through and freeze up, get stiff, get back, because it's counterintuitive to what the jump wants you to do, which is go up and forward, you know?
Yeah, that's going to be my whole mantra going into this one is going to be, you know, try my best to maintain the form. And if that means coming in slow and casing the hell out of it, so be it. That's where I'm at with it, because I'm not going to come in fast and have it go wrong. No way.
Yeah. I watched a few people this morning and tried to analyze their approach and their technique.
This was on medieval
thought process. Yeah. And there was a lot of people getting managed by the takeoff. And, you know, Jess and I had this conversation about managing energy and then creating energy and figuring out what needs to happen. And there's a time for both of those in varying levels. I'd argue you never want to get managed by a takeoff. If you're getting managed by a takeoff, that's a bad place to be. And unfortunately, a lot of people do that. And for you, Jared, I think one of the things that we're going to work on is the elbow position for sure.
Yeah, I know. I know that one.
Every time I see you get those elbows down, and I think it's a matter of keeping you open, because you come in and you hit these jumps and I see you kind of hunch over a lot. So it's going to be some time trying to unprogram that and Jess knows it's a difficult thing. It doesn't happen immediately. And so this is going to test you, I think, a little bit more, because with the drop, you just go off it. And
yeah, there's not as many inputs coming from me.
There's not, and you're not managing much energy.
Yeah.
I think. And so, yeah, it's definitely, it's going to be fun because we have so many places to use. And I think we have a pretty good formula of where we're going to start and then how we're going to progress. But, and I think this will be even more fun for people to watch, because we'll get a lot of slow-mo that we can bring in and break down for people.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get to that point. Like, I've got buddies that have their jumping techniques dialed, and they can come in with half the speed that I have and just freaking boost them, because they're very good at the timing and opening their body and all that good stuff. And yeah, I'm not really there. I'm getting better for sure, but
a lot of people aren't, and it's so challenging, because what it comes down to is you'll see the video. You'll see what you have to do. You'll see what has to happen.
Right.
It's just a matter of doing it in some respect. And you don't have to do it all at once. It's just a matter of you have to do a little bit. Because if you do a little bit, then that little bit becomes the new normal. Then you can do a little bit more. That becomes the new normal, and so on and so forth.
Totally.
But until that happens, and that I feel like that's going to be challenging for you, because I think you'll get in your head about it, because it's way easier, I think, to get in your head about jumps than it is drops in some respects. And at least for me, what I found is when you start to get in your head about jumps, it's challenging to get out of there. Like, it's just, you get lost. It's this space of just infinite badness sometimes. And
I don't know if I've ever been there, because the truth is, like, at least even on the biggest jumps, the ones that scare me, at least it's rollable. You can come in slow and just kind of roll over it. But if you come in slow and just roll off and drop the hammer, you're eating it, bro.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but I would argue fear wouldn't let most people do that. The brain wouldn't let you come in. Like, if you actually saw somebody roll slowly off drop the hammer, there's much bigger issues at play there, I would think. But you see the drop, you see the context, you see what's in front of you. Sometimes with a jump, you don't see it. Like, this doesn't look like much. We're looking at it through a different lens. But I think once you start to get an idea of what needs to happen, and Jess, it happened for you a couple times the other day. You're like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, there we go. Yeah. The heels stay down. We're out working with Sarah the other day, and I literally told her, don't think of anything. Just come with your heels down. Like, literally just keep your heels down. And she said, I don't need to do anything else? I said, no, don't do anything else. If you keep your heels down, you have no choice but to load the bike. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to look awkward, but then at least you start to get a feel for what it's like to load your heels into the takeoff. And it's going to be a situation where we have to try to use as much of those tactics to get you where you start to feel what that's like.
Yeah, I definitely want to feel that on the easier ones, before we get to the big boys.
Yeah.
Put the work in on the front end. So once we get to the bigger stuff, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I think those two, the Rockman ones down there on All American, I think those are a great spot to start, because it's easily repeatable.
Yeah, I was thinking either those or the 3 on fire line, like at the top.
Yeah, I think we'll do both. I think we'll do both. Fire line is a good spot.
Because the 3 on fire line to me feels similar, but the 2 on the Rockman line, as y'all call it, the first one feels completely different than the second one.
It's different. Yeah. It's the energy builds much quicker.
Yeah. But the second one, like, it's much easier because it gives you so much energy.
It does. But what I like about them is it forces you to deal with 2 separate timing inputs.
2 scenarios. Yeah.
Which is, that's a good thing.
I agree.
You start to get in situations where you have that, but we'll do Fireline too. I think the first 3 on Fireline are good, but then down low, those other ones, that spot where we stopped, Jess, is really good, where you come out of that big 180 and there's that step down and then that big one after. Because that big one after, you can carry a lot of speed. So Jared, you come through, you hit that big first 180 berm.
And it has a tombstone on it.
Yeah, it's after the tombstone. You do the tombstone.
You come out of the berm, and then there's a tombstone kind of step down on the left.
Yeah.
And then there's that tabletop after. That one's legit.
That one's a good one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those I'm okay on. Some like I'll hit that one and I clear it sometimes. Sometimes I'll do the tombstone and clear that one fine, but that one's kind of weird. That one sometimes manages me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So and we'll talk about that. You have to be very specific about what you're doing on that one to make it work.
Yeah.
And then we could go down to the end and jack around with that one.
The three at the bottom, those are, I'm far from that at the moment.
Have you hit them recently, or have you looked at them recently?
Yeah, I've ridden them since they reskinned them. But I just come in slow and just let myself land on the top.
Okay.
They're kind of in that realm of like, do I want to do this? Because they seem consequential in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
I mean, too, man.
It's like I've done so many lips coming down Fireline, and those three at the end. It's like, do I really want to like give these hell and risk stacking myself when I'm already here at the bottom? It's like,
and you're tired by the time you get there, you know?
Oh, no, that's so true. That's why we have to figure out how to start there.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of a descent leading into it, so we could figure it out.
Well, Jess and I kind of doubled back up.
Bushwhacked through some brambles to get up there. It wasn't the best option, but
it was not.
We did it.
Yeah, it worked, but it was not the best. But I think that that's a good spot to do that. And I wonder, have you been to Huntley recently, either of you?
No, it's been a while, maybe like a month or more.
Yeah, the last time I was there it was a little chewed up. It was a little like, random rock. You know, a lot of the dirt has kind of fallen away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not good. Then I'm not.
Needs a little work, but
when they come in and drop a little like cap on top, dude, that place is legit.
Yeah, it was pretty rocky when I was there last.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times when it's like that, and it gets unfun very quickly. It's all rough, and you just think, ooh, I don't want to go down on that. And then it never fails. Somebody goes down on that third one. They just get bounced off the third one.
The third one is where
that's the biggest one on air.
Yeah,
I know
you think the third one's the biggest? Because that's the one that I feel like
it's either 3 or 4. One of them's big.
Third.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes small, really small, great, big, and then smaller, a little bigger. I think the third one and the last one are the two biggest.
Yeah, there's a couple. I remember there's a couple in there where I'm just like, whoa. No.
The last one, amazing. It's got that big giant tombstone to the left, and you just shoot.
Yeah, it's kind of hippie. Like it goes one direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's fun. Mm-hmm. It's fun. Maybe we go out there too. So
that would be fun. Someone did ask. Someone did ask in the comments to compare Drop the Hammer to Mad Hatter. Is that a good drop pre-requirement?
We aced that for a reason, I believe, because we kind of agreed that the Mad Hatter drop was more of like a step down type of scenario rather than a full blown drop.
So Mad Hatter, well, I think we didn't think it was going to add anything to your to your technique, Jared, because not that it requires different technique. It's just really it's that one requires a bit more speed and it's longer, you know? So you are already doing really consistent work at the rail yard on that larger drop. So we didn't feel the need to go over and you know, we were like, let's just rip the Band-Aid and get right over there. But I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Rich? Like for you and for the series, like we chose not to for that reason, but would that be a good prerequisite for Drop the Hammer?
I think it would be a good prerequisite. I think we can definitely say that. I would think it also would be good to go to rail yard and get comfortable on all those. They changed them recently. So they changed them and they're better. They're much better. And I just don't know of any place that has at least 2 consecutive drops like that where you can work on them. Like the ones that in Slaughter Pen they don't really do it. None of them I think have any parallels. That big one at Rail Yard is, I feel, very similar to Drop the Hammer. It's just double the size.
Yeah.
So
it's funny though, because like prior, both you and Mason, I know Mason did. You may have said this too, Rich, that you thought that 6 foot drop at the Rail Yard, you would want to hit that one less because it's a little sketchier than the hammer.
Yeah.
And I would have to agree. If anyone can bag that, then they're good on the hammer for sure.
I think the biggest challenge with that one is there's no run out. Like the window to land is tiny. It's not much more than the wheelbase of the bike. Drop the hammer, you have 10. Obviously, you don't want to go 10 wheelbases deep into the landing if you don't have to, but you certainly have a lot of it. And that's the other thing too, is at the end of the day, Drop the Hammers, there's a lot of things in your favor as a rider. Like if you just ride off it and don't freak out, it's probably going to work.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think they must have plugged that one into like CAD and just straight up like engineered it to the core. You know, there was no random digging with that one. They engineered it very well.
Yeah, there was a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's
as
just
far as where or how far out the metal structure jutted out.
Yeah,
like, dude, they thought a lot about that.
Yeah, I can tell. It's
because it wasn't always like that, right, Rich? Like, wasn't there like where there's that dirt line that they put the sign so that people don't ride that line anymore? But was that the original?
Yeah,
the original line.
Well, I remember when it wasn't even done. Like I remember being up there and Hardy, and then we're building it, and I was hitting it, and they didn't even have the other side done. So it was literally just the hammer, just that drop, and none of the other stuff was done. And the landing was different. They've taken the landing and made it steeper and kind of pulled some material out of it. But yeah, it's better. It's good. Like it's set up to be really good. So we'll see. Hopefully more gets built in regards to at least places to do those. Just because everybody's so into it. Like everybody talks about drops all the time, and it would be awesome to have more places. It'd be great to have more places for people to practice, like step up.
Progression drops,
Totally. But it would be cool to have some built in places where they're strategically janky coming in.
Yeah.
Here, I'll put it this way. It'd be cool to have some drops where either you can't use the technique we're talking about, or it's really difficult to use the technique we're talking about, because I've said it all along. There are some drops where you have to do things differently. You can't do what I'm saying or what I would normally do. But what I come back to is the majority of people aren't doing those drops. These people want to know how to do them. And what I want to say to them is, why are you asking? You're not going to do them. They're way beyond what you're going to do. So don't ask, don't argue with the technique. Like if you got to do a trials move and hop off something, very few people, I think, are going to do it. So, yeah, I would like to show that. And maybe that will put some people's minds at ease, like something where there's a rock off it. So you got to hop off the rock or over the rock or some stuff like that. Well, yeah, it's like you have to do whatever you need for that situation, if that makes sense.
What technique did you use in that massive one on DH7? That ridiculous one where you aired over Mason?
I kind of jumped off that.
Yeah, that thing is mega, dude.
Yeah, but again, and what I come back to is a fraction of people on the planet will do that.
Yeah, I have no desire.
Literally.
Yeah, zero.
It's not. It's not that it's that big. I mean, it's decent, dude. That's a healthy one. But what it comes back to is there's a lot of similarities. I don't change it a ton, but on that one, I don't come in that low because I don't need to. It doesn't pay dividends in that instance to do that. But again, I come back to very few people are doing that. And what I come back to is if you're hitting that, you don't need to be watching any video I'm making or anybody.
Yeah, that's a big feature.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it comes back to.
You know what I think would be kind of helpful, and this kind of goes back to jumps, is so at Whistler, they have a chart. Okay. And it's like, you know, if people always talk up A-line, it's like A-line is like the drop the hammer of Whistler, right? It's like people want to do A-line, but they have a chart. It's like a progression chart of trails. So it's like until you can clear all the jumps on, crank it up, and then B-line, and it gives you the order to like progress to A-line. And I think that would be really, really neat for like jumps like for this area. Yeah, just like what are you know, I think that'd be kind of cool because I think, I don't know. I just think
we could package this series up like that. I mean, you know, kind of, at least on the media side.
Maybe that's a good idea to try to do it like that, because I think that makes a lot of sense, and it makes it so much easier for people to get a feel for where they're at. It's just, it's very challenging because it would be like almost like what I'm thinking is one of those, you get these two options. If you're here, you go here. If you're here, you go here.
If yes, when do they come back? It's like yes, no, and then if you say yes, you go this way.
But I can't do this. Do I end up here?
Big intricate flow chart.
Yeah, I think we could end up doing that. That's a good idea, Jess. You got me thinking about that.
Yeah,
she's chock full of them.
You know, sometimes I get good ideas. Sometimes.
No, I think that's a great idea, and I think that's something that we could, like Jared said, we could package that up and then get some input from people and kind of build it on a bigger scale. But that would be legit, especially for people who. Well, just think about that. People who are coming in and they don't have a whole lot of time. I want to know, like, I have 2 days. Where should I go? What should I hit? And what's going to
get? Dude. Tourism perspective. I would have loved that years ago when I wasn't a local.
All right. I think we need to do that. We got to figure out what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
That's a good one. Nice. All right. Well, 8:50, but it's actually 9:50.
I know.
It feels like 9:50.
It's 9:50.
Feels like 9:50.
Yes, I still have to. I slept so horribly last night, and I kept waking up. I kept looking at my phone, and I'm like, "Is this right, or did the hour get taken away?
Did it happen yet?
Yeah. When does that happen?" And it's so horrible. And then Dex was up at 5:45, but it was actually 6:45. Like, oh, bro, come on. Then I was like, "No, it's 5:45, so you have to go back to sleep." He wasn't having it. We were playing Legos at 6 o'clock in the morning.
There we go. I can get behind that.
Yeah, he does some cool stuff. I'll show you a picture of this garage.
Super cool.
He hit so
nice.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Jared, thanks for spending a Sunday evening with me here.
Yeah,
love it.
Adding drops. I think we'll have to do it again soon once we get going on jumps.
You just switched to like a calming nighttime voice.
I'm
just he's getting into the announcer mode.
Trying to bring the vibe down. I'm trying to harness my friend John Tesh. I used to listen to John Tesh when I was driving. I got some dates earmarked for the jump, so we need to see if we can get together on those and make some of that happen. We got some other content that we're going to need to make soon too. I'm not going to say exactly what. You will.
Rich Drew After Dark.
That's right. Welcome to Rich Drew After Dark. Everybody get your apple cider and your slippers.
Your apple cider.
I don't know. We got some cool content that we're going to make, Jared. I'll tell you what it is. I can't tell Jess yet because it's going to be a surprise.
Woo! I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I was wondering if we had anything else that we were going to try to tackle.
So hang on. See this up here? See the duck in the corner?
Yep.
Yeah.
The duck in the corner. That's your hint.
That's my hint?
That's your hint. Yeah. Jared should pick up on it.
I'm drawing a blank. I have no clue.
Are you? Okay. If you think about it a little bit, it'll make sense.
I'll think about it.
Don't.
Okay.
Yeah, this is gonna be good. It's a great hint. Like it's an
Man.
amazing hint. It's gonna be hard to tie it in, but it's an amazing hint.
Okay.
You'll,
Well,
you'll know.
mystery.
You'll know
Soon?
Tuesday. End of the
Okay.
day, Tuesday.
Okay.
End of the day,
I'm
Tuesday.
excited.
All right. No, just wait. You're gonna be.
Ooh,
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah.
exciting.
You're gonna.
Good job.
Hey, you're gonna be charged up.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Dang
We-
it.
Oh, I
That's what
know.
you said.
I got it.
Yeah,
I got
we're,
it.
Oh, Jared.
We're gonna see. There you go. Chuck says great idea on the progression.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, everybody.
Chuck.
For
We're gonna
tuning
do
in.
it. Maybe send a message to Oz Trails and tell them that it's a good idea. And they'll help us make it happen.
Hell
All right,
yeah,
everybody.
that'd be awesome.
Have a great night. Thanks for
All right.
tuning in to Rich Drew and Crew After Dark.
Rich
We'll be
Drew
here
and
again
Crew.
next week. All right, y'all.
All right, y'all.
Take care,
Have
everybody.
a good
Thanks for
one.
coming in.
Good night.